It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend and the end of March Madness. Final Four weekend is upon us. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, with his opinions based out of left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend and your consultant, and you need to check out the tool department if you're a do-it-yourselfer at DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, good afternoon. Boy, there's a lot of topics on the table. This bulletin board is full of things that we're going to discuss today, and obviously March Madness and the Final Four and weekend, the championship games are just around the corner, but we got baseball, we got late breaking football stories. We got a ton of things going a lot of different directions.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, the amount of content today. So let's get going. Huh?
Yeah, listen, just a reminder, we do sports talk the way it should be done. We put topics on the table. We express opinions, some valid, some from left field.
Hey.
And then we open it up and we let you participate. But the only way you can get involved is you got to commit to join us in Fans Forum. And it's simple. John, how does Fans Forum work for those of us on live stream watching us on each of the platforms?
All right, well, here's how you get involved. You just drop your hot take and on the live chat on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Twitter. We'll get you involved. I already see Do You Love It and Teamer 20 are already on board.
So jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Pick any of the topics we're talking about. Ask a question. Make a statement. Fans Forum belongs to you. Want you to claim it. Another business item. This thing is exploding. This podcast very popular, very successful because of you people. You can help us make it grow at an even faster pace. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, or give us the 5-star rating on Apple. It helps us a great deal. And if you like sports, read my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Best 15 minutes in sports. It's there first thing every morning on the website. One man's opinion column. I got opinions on everything. I'd like to hear what you've got to say about what I have to say. That's all on the written portion of my website. And of course, on the website, there's an orange box right on the homepage. Fill it out. Join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. That will get you on the email list because John and I send out 2 newsletters every day covering the world of sports absolutely free into your inbox. You're on social media on X, join me. Join the Twitter All-Star team, Hacksaw1090, or just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button there. Have I covered it all?
Yeah. Join me. Get those lines lit, man. You're just Hacksaw. You just don't stop. I love it.
Well, you're the one that created all this social media stuff.
Yeah, but it's all good, man. You're made for it. Social media should have been around in the 80s and 90s. You would have been blowing up then.
That was the internet before the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go a lot of different directions. Let's get started because this is a huge weekend in basketball. John, where do you want to start?
Yeah, we got to go March Madness, Final Four. Here we go.
All right, let's talk about the matchups. This is going to be very interesting. Saturday, leading into the Monday championship game, you got the Arizona Wildcats meeting Michigan. Now, Michigan has torched everybody they have played. And they beat Bama. They beat Tennessee. They took out St. Louis. Now, each of those teams had great offenses, but were not physical. Michigan mugged them. And Michigan's got maybe the player of the year right there on the periphery in Jax Lindenborg. Amari Mara has just had an amazing March Madness stretch, the big center. I'm waiting for Marenz Johnson, their swingman, to really have a marquee game. That's not happened. They're going to need good play. So that's what Michigan's all about. The Wildcats, damn, they mugged Purdue. They dismantled Arkansas. They wiped out Utah State. This team is more than just Koa Pete, although he's the focal point with 14 points per game. Krivas and Karchenko, the two bigs, between them are averaging 28 points and 14 rebounds a game. And in the backcourt, Burries and Bradley are combining to average 29 per game. John, the firepower that Arizona brings to the court, I think is going to overwhelm Michigan. Arizona's got every facet of college basketball covered with a talent-laden, really deep basketball team. What do you think about that game?
It's interesting, Mara, because wasn't he on UCLA last year?
Yes.
And so, but he's definitely taken a step forward,
He's
hasn't
from
he?
Spain, and he's really evolved. Mick Cronin didn't coach him up. I thought Cronin had a run where he brought in about 5 Euros. And I thought, wow, he's crossed the ocean and he's doing things. Virtually all of them left. And Mara's become very, very successful at Michigan. It's taken him time to grow into it, but he's grown into it. But boy, Arizona, holy cow, are they big and are they deep? And what a team Tommy Lloyd's put together.
Well, in my opinion, this is the championship game right here. Yep. You know, it's brawn on brawn. You know, but I'm with you. I think Arizona has more to offer. I mean, more athleticism, more like punch than I think.
Bulk.
Yeah, all of that.
So that's Arizona, Michigan. Second game, Illinois, UConn. Illinois, nobody knew anything about. Illinois did not dominate the Big Ten. And then Illinois got into the tournament, and they choked off Houston. Houston with a great offense. They held them to 34% shooting. And then they held Iowa to 29% shooting in the second half of that game, and they beat up tiny Virginia Commonwealth. And Illinois, a.k.a. Team Europe. Now, they're led by a really good guard in Keaton Wagner's averaging 18 points per game. But they got Andras Stojakovic, the son of the great NBA stars, averaging 14 per game. Their 3 Euros have combined to average 37 points and 17 rebounds a night. Illinois is, I'm not going to say disrespected, but holy cow, have they arrived as a team at the right time of the year. And then there's UConn. They can play any type of basketball you want to play. Dan Hurley will just yell at them and they'll kick it into gear. I mean, they played and beaten Duke, Michigan State, and UCLA using different styles of basketball. And Terrace Reed has really grown as a big man. He's averaging 17 points and 8 rebounds a game. Third-year starter Alex Caravan has had some really hot shooting nights and very gifted from the three-point range. And their 3 guards score points. The big issue, can Reed stay out of foul trouble? Because he's got the big Euros leaning all over him. So that's going to be fascinating to see if UConn's game gets disrupted by the physicality of the Illini big men, all of them from abroad. This is not going to be an easy walkover game. I grant you, Dan Hurley has willed his team to victories against different styles of play. But, boy, this is going to be a challenge because Illinois is huge.
Illinois is just kind of strange to me. I mean, if you think about all the universities in the Big Ten, I mean, for the most part, I can give you relevant storylines or history bullet points about every one of those schools in football and basketball, but I couldn't tell you anything about Illinois.
Except it's located in Champaign-Urbana. That's it.
That's it.
And
I know.
Brad Underwood's doing a great job finding players.
So how can this university be in the bottom half of the Big Ten for so long? You know, every once in a while they'll have a decent basketball team. Like this is a big year for them. But why do we not hear about them more often?
Because they've been very upper echelon for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with their football program. They're there, but they're not there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just weird, you know. And then UConn, I mean, it's just when Dan Hurley's on the sidelines running around, he's going to headbutt somebody or something goofy's going to happen. You know, I'd like to see, you know, Dan Hurley kind of get smacked off his perch, you know, but in the end, I want the survivor of the Arizona-Michigan game to have a competitive game in the championship, and I worry if Illinois could really be that.
No, I don't think so. At the end of the day, the point that you made coming right out of the gate, Arizona, Michigan sure feels like, looks like, sounds like, reads like a championship game, even though it's the semifinal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so March Madness. Men's Saturday come Monday. Who do you think's going to win? Fans Forum chat box is open. Lost in all the conversation is what's going to happen on Friday night and Sunday afternoon. We're talking about the women's NCAA tournament. And lost in the conversation, there are 4 really great teams going against each other. And the growth of the WNBA is a direct result of what's happened because of that guy, GENO AURIEMMA. He is the head coach of the Lady Huskies at UConn. And UConn is getting ready to try to make another run. They're going to play South Carolina in one bracket. UCLA having a historical season, going to play Texas in the other women's bracket. Those games are Friday, championship game on Sunday. GENO in the Final Four for the 12th time in his career. GENO, 1,288 career wins. This team that GENO's constructed has a 54-game winning streak going back to the middle of last season. You know, 25 times they've been in the Final Four in the 44 years of the women's tournament. 25 times UConn basketball's been there. And they don't just post wins. They beat your brains out. They're averaging victory 37 points per game. That's their average margin of victory. This year's team is 38-0. He's had 2 other teams that are 39-0. And he had one team that was 40-0 back in 2014. And I'll tell you, he's the architect of women's basketball. If I throw these names at you, they all wore UConn threads and played for that guy. Rebecca Lobo, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Maya Moon. I mean, it's just phenomenal what they have accomplished
Hall
there.
of Famers.
Oh, they made the game.
Yeah.
So you got UConn. Will it be a walkover? Will it be a blowout? Well, Dawn Staley at South Carolina has done a hell of a job. She's built her own championship caliber program, but there's just too much talent on this UConn roster. The other game's going to be unique. Lauren Betts has grown into this at 6'7". She is a great player, greatest player of all time, I think, at UCLA in the Lady Bruins program. They're 35-1. They're going to play a Texas team that's got great defense and has great defensive statistics and great tradition. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be UConn, UCLA on Sunday afternoon in the ladies' final. Now, they played a year ago, and UConn stomped them. Now, Lauren Betts is back with a better supporting cast. This will be fun. But at the end of the day, that guy is responsible, I think, more than anybody else in the country for the growth of the WNBA because he's developed such a great feeder system with UConn lady basketball. And John Raleigh says...
Yeah, I mean, you think about women's basketball, it's GENO AURIEMMA, but who was was it Pat Summitt?
Yes.
At Tennessee?
Tennessee.
You know, and those, I remember those 2 programs would often go head-to-head for the finals. So now, you know, we got some other programs here. Dawn Staley's a great personality.
Yeah,
I mean,
and a great coach.
And she's tough, you know, and so you like to see her knock off GENO AURIEMMA. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm all in on this women's tournament. I think it's going to be fun. And, you know, Lauren Betts. That's where my bet is, on Lauren Betts, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I want to see UCLA kind of go all the way through and win this whole thing. I think it'd be great for West Coast basketball. But it is weird, though, that UConn is dominant in both the men's and the women's at the same time. Yep.
Well,
crazy.
It was their only sport.
But it's not even a Power 4 school. Aren't they like in the Big East or something?
Well, yeah, UConn men's basketball was a cornerstone under Jim Calhoun in the Big East originally.
I wonder if Jared Calhoun from Utah State, now at Cincinnati, is related.
No.
No? Okay.
So this is great. And who's missing? LSU.
Oh, yeah.
They're not there.
What's the LSU coach's name again? She's like a firecracker.
Yeah, the snazzy dresser.
Yeah. Her name is escaping. Kim Mulkey. That's it. I really like her. I mean, she's entertaining as hell.
It just dawned on me as we're talking about the Final Four, she's not there this year. But she's had great teams in years gone by.
Well, I think Texas has probably taken the spot that normally would have been for LSU.
Exactly. And it's really weird because I had a flashback. I wrote my column on ladies basketball today, my one man's opinion column on the website. You ought to sample it. But when I was writing the column, I had a flashback. I remember the early years of NCAA women's basketball, and I remember one of the first champions was Delta State of Mississippi.
Delta State?
They had a 6'6" center. And the reason I remember it because she just passed away. Her name was Lucy Smith. She was really good, but she was a talent unto herself, and none of the other teams had anybody that size, that skilled. So Delta State, Mississippi was the first champion. I remember in the early days doing sports talk radio, I interviewed one of the other early champions in women's basketball, Ann Donovan, great starting center, Old Dominion in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Very snazzy lady. But they were the forerunners for what this would become, and of course, led by Rebecca Becco. It's gone on and on and on. So Rebecca Lobo. So women's basketball, instead of having an isolated good star and an isolated school, has really become an industry, and it's become tremendously successful. And AURIEMMA he's different. And what a great job he's done. Holy cow, year after year after year, he's a magnet for all the greatest players in the country.
Yeah. I mean, do you like how the women's Final Four is sort of interwoven with the men's?
Yes. The game is different, though, because they play 4 quarters.
Yeah. Why don't they play quarters? I mean, and I've often wondered that, because they play quarters in the NBA, the WNBA, women's basketball, but not in men's college basketball.
Yeah. Tradition, history, I guess.
It's just weird. That's just a weird rule.
So anyhow, that's where we are. You follow women's basketball? Can you appreciate the greatness of what they've done at the University of Connecticut? Feel free. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open because we do cover it all. We're not done with college basketball. Next topic, John.
Yeah, we got some expansion coming to the West Coast Conference.
Yeah, big rumors this week around college basketball. Of course, the WCC has lost Gonzaga, and in essence, I think it may be about to lose what Heritage St. Mary's was, because their coach Randy Bennett has gone to Arizona State. There are rumors out there that they're going to talk to UCSB and to Cal Irvine about joining the West Coast Conference. Cal Santa Barbara, Cal Irvine, all part of the Big West. And the Big West has been shaky. WCC has a different standard mode of operation. University of San Diego's there. UCSD is about to join. Mm-hmm. So they're going to try to add UCSB, which has a pretty good legacy of a mid-major, and maybe help them as a conference to grow. Meanwhile, coaching front, Utah State, which has hired great coaches and lost them. Here today, gone tomorrow. Just lost Jared Calhoun to the University of Cincinnati. Utah State has just hired Ben Jacobson. Who? This guy was a really good coach. Northern Iowa, 397 career wins. So he's coming from Northern Iowa. He's bringing his Northern Iowa players with him to Utah State. So we'll see if USU can recalibrate again and just continue this long tradition. And this was a really surprise story to me because I thought this was fait accompli. St. Bonaventure met with Bobby Hurley, and they talked extensively. I thought he was going there after getting bumped out at Arizona State. Didn't take the job. They've just hired an electric coach from Division II basketball. His name is Mike McDonald, 61-3 at Damon State, Division II champion. So he's going into St. Bonaventure. I really thought the Bonnies would have hired Bobby Hurley. Did not happen. Hurley does not have a job, which is kind of stunning to me. And he didn't have a buyout. This was the final year of his contract, so he's stepping aside without a payday, which is kind of strange, too. I think he'll wind up in a year probably somewhere else on the East Coast.
He's a Hurley.
Exactly.
He should be coaching somewhere.
Yeah. So the aftermath of Gonzaga exiting and maybe St. Mary's no longer being St. Mary's post Randy Bennett, what do you think happens to the WCC? They fall off the face of the earth?
No. I think this is progress in the right direction. Here, this goes back this model goes back a long time. Because remember how we talked about how San Diego State could never get into the Pac-12 or the Pac-8 back when it was the Pac-8, and part of it had to do with these higher, more prestigious universities. Mostly the UCs kind of looking down on their state schools, right? So we can debate the value of that whole sort of hierarchy of schools in California, but now that WCC is doing similar, they added UC San Diego. They did that about a year ago, and I think it's going to start in July, if I recall. And that shocked me because UC San Diego has over 40,000 students, and almost all the other, WCC schools are little Jesuit schools with like 5,000 students. And how does that match up? Well, now they're adding or considering adding a few teams from the Big West. And here again, they're cherry picking the more prestigious academic universities, the universities that have a larger student population, but they're not necessarily cherry picking Cal State Fullerton, So you can see how the alignment has a sports angle, but also an academic angle in terms of how these schools want to be grouped with others.
Yeah, I don't think the conference is dead in the water. I mean, USF got a good basketball program historically.
Well, 2 national championships.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see as these sets of dominoes fall at the mid-major level as to what's going to transpire next. College basketball fan, got an opinion, question? Go ahead, post it. Fans Forum chat box is open. When we go from that, let's talk Major League Baseball.
What do you think of this ABS system, Lee?
It's wearing me out.
It's wearing you out. Want to bring up the big board on this? Let's get down into it.
Yeah, let's just talk about the crisis in Major League Baseball. The ABS has been fun to watch on TV through the first week of the baseball season. But all of a sudden, we're spending all of our time waiting for the next botch call. And it doesn't delay the game because they're snap judgments with the computers. They're getting decisions within 8 seconds of the guy putting his hand on his helmet and say, I want to replay. But at the end of the day, the ABS replays have kind of overtaken the spirit of the game. And the umpires, I think, are really upset because all of a sudden the whole focal point is on the umpires and the missed calls, not on the game. So it's become a big issue. Anyhow, The Athletic did a series of interviews with 5 retired umpires, and their response has not been very favorable about ABS. These are some of the pointed quotes that the umpires can't define the strike zone because the strike zone changes because of the size of the player, and it's hard to define because of the movement of the ball from the pitchers because they throw stuff that's got such bite to it. He said, one umpire said, at the end of the day, we have almost 94% accuracy on our balls and strikes count. This is not a perfect science. He says that's still a great percentage. He says the computers now are making calls that measure maybe 1/10 of an inch on the plate, off the plate.
Yeah.
Human eye can't see that. So, yes, have the computers helped us? They have. But you're being unfair to the umpire thinking that they should have to get every call correct. He says the general feeling is we're just sitting around on the TV waiting for the next ABS call, and the umpires look bad. And he said the fans, they're showing all this joy that they're humiliating these umpires on social media. And one of the retired umpires says this can be a problem because if you're going to demonstrate all this hostility towards these guys who are doing a really tough job, these guys are not going to want to be umpires any longer. They're going to walk away from it. So my left hand says, yeah, it's great to get the call correct. My right hand says, God, this ABS replay has just overwhelmed us totally. Well, that's all we're watching. We're not watching the great pitcher. We're not watching a home run ball. We're waiting for the next screw-up so we can denounce the umpires. And by the way, we talked about C.B. Buckner.
Oh, yeah.
The umpire last week in the Red Sox game.
That's him right there.
That's him right there. C.B. Buckner had 5 calls overturned by the Reds. His home plate measurements were so askew. That was horrible. The one game behind home plate for Buckner was an embarrassment. He was so bad. And then the next game, he's umpiring at first base, and there's a ball in which Jake Bauers lined a hit, and the umpire called him out. Buckner called him out. You failed to touch first base, and right there, everybody saw it. The home plate umpire came out and ruled no. Bauers is safe. So Buckner missed that call the next game, and then last night, Buckner got knocked out of the game, took a 100-mile-an-hour foul ball face off the face mask, had to be helped off the field. Ooh, that's just terrible. He's not the only one. Mike Esterbrook, another home plate umpire. Yankees went 5 for 5 on ABS challenges against him behind home plate. And I don't understand this one. In the Astro-Red Sox game, all the umpires lost track of what the ball strike count was. They had an Astro player strike out, and they gave him an extra pitch. He got a hit.
Yeah.
He should have been out.
Yeah.
And all of them lost track of strike 3.
Yeah.
Boy, umpires have had a bad week. So, anyhow, what's your reaction? Do you like ABS?
Love it.
Okay.
I love it.
You don't think it's become a distraction now?
No.
It's not kill the ump?
No. Well, first of all, the umpires, boo-hoo-hoo. I mean, this isn't like a jobs program for umpires. They've got to keep them around just to keep them employed. I mean, it's like trying to protect the jobs of the horse and buggy manufacturers. We're driving electric cars and everything else these days. We're flying to the moon. You know, we've got better technology now. You know, we can call balls and strikes, and the ABS is better than the human eye. And you can say, well, we're 94%, but still, that's not good enough. I need it to be right all the time, you know, and we're seeing refs make mistakes in basketball and football all the time, and it just drives fans crazy. It drives players crazy. Just get it right. Be objective. Hit me with reality, you know, if I'm strike or ball. Fair or foul, you know, and if we need technology, like even what they have in tennis, you know, with that
line calls.
Yeah, like it's like an ABS in tennis. That's great. You know, so, you know, CB Buckner had a horrible week. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's one thing when you're kind of getting called out behind home plate, but, you know, he got injured, like get a ball to the mask and everything else. It is a weird dynamic, and I'll say this. It's like, you know, going back to your big board here, the fans' joy to humiliate the umps. Yeah. I mean, when that whole thing went down with the Reds and the Red Sox and Eugenio Suarez, the fans were like almost laughing at the umpire, especially when it happened on the second pitch in a row. You know, so for so long, the umpires have been kind of arrogant, you know, at times. And now it's just, let's do ABS every pitch. That's what I propose.
So my co-host just says it's okay to kill the ump.
Yes. Well, or at least they need to be phased out. I mean, it's economic, technological evolution.
Okay, so we'll ask this question. Fans Forum question of the day for baseball fans. Like or dislike ABS? Is it unfair to the umpires? Or you say, just get the damn call right. And if you can't do the job to CB Buckner, go do your own podcast. Give me my mask and give me the chest protector. We'll give it to somebody else. So that's question of the day. Fans Forum chat box is open. Like or dislike ABS interruption. Your thoughts are invited. We go from that. Let's move on. Let's talk about the teams here in Southern California that we always touch bases on.
Opening week for the Padres, Dodgers, and Angels.
Padres finish a homestand. Would have never thought they'd go 2-4 on the homestand, but now they go to Boston and they open this road trip. Nick Pivetta, nice bounce-back victory. The other 3 starters have struggled. We just need to be patient with Walker Buehler and German Marquez. I would say give each of them 3 starts through the rotation and make a judgment whether or not they can be what they used to be or close to what they used to be. Next in line would be Griff Canning. He's got to make a rehab start this weekend in the Pacific Coast League for El Paso. He's probably 2 to 3 rehab starts away before consideration that he might coming up. Now I got a question. You got a batting order here. Craig Stammen and his coaching staff had 6 weeks to determine in spring training who slots where, knowing the track record and the history of all these veteran players, and this is what this is all about, who slots where in the batting order. And they're experimenting now that we get to opening day because they're not sure who should go where. You had 6 weeks in the Cactus League to figure this out. Do you know, as they get ready to play at Fenway Park on Friday night, the Padres team batting average is .202.
Yeah.
Team, .202.
Sounds about right.
Xander is smoking balls, but he's hitting only 167. Jake is only hitting 190. Tatis is batting .238. Sheets, 176. Fermin, .076, which is better than Campusano's .000. Castellanos, $167. Andujar, $167. Jackson Merrill, just $217. You had 6 weeks to figure out who goes where, and you're still experimenting a week plus into the season, and nobody, really nobody outside of the left fielder and
Ramon Laureano,
and outside of occasionally Machado, nobody's hitting. How is this possible that this staff just can't figure out who goes where when you got all this data? Am I overreacting? I know it's, quote, small sample size, but damn, these are veteran players making a lot of money, and they're hitting .202 collectively as you go on the road. Also, comment on the pitching that you're seeing. You buy my theory, patience? Comment on what the hell has this staff been doing for 6 weeks about the batting order? Go ahead.
Yeah, there are problems all over the place here. The pitching, Pivetta just looked magnificent yesterday, and I just was so proud of him because he just, pooped the bed on the opening day, So it was a good opportunity for him to get back on track. I have confidence in Michael King. He's going to be all right. Randy Vasquez is like our new hero. Love him. And Buehler kind of did what I expected Buehler to do. He gave up, 3 runs in 4 innings, He's got to get better, but, he's not the old Buehler. I mean, the old Buehler is... That old Buehler doesn't exist. And Germán Marquez, I'm a little worried about, but the rest of the bullpen, with the exception of Jeremiah Estrada on opening day, or was that game 2? The rest of the bullpen's been fine. And yeah, Canning might come up and there's options.
Not many.
Yes, but in the end, you can't just score 0, 1, or 2 runs. I mean, you've got to put runs on the board. The problem right now is the hitting. And, yeah, everyone's going crazy. Like, Padre Twitter is going bananas about the batting order. Why is Ramon Laureano not hitting in the meat of the order? And why are you having, a lefty go up against a left-handed pitcher, and everyone's second-guessing Craig Stammen.
And why you're giving guys a day off just the first week of the season, and you got off days on your schedule.
Right, but see, there's rationale behind it in terms of matchups, because I remember Laureano didn't match up very well, I think, with Logan Webb, and so they made some adjustments. But in the end, I think it doesn't matter what your batting order if nobody gets hitting. If everybody is hitting like 167 or something like that, I don't care what order you put it in. But if it were me, Laureano would be batting 2 or 3. I mean, definitely right now. And I don't have a problem with a manager moving his lineup around. I think it kind of to shake it up, it just kind of keeps the players loose and everyone's adjusting to it. Because sometimes when people get locked into a spot in the batting order, it either goes to their head positively, like they think they're all that, or it goes to their head negatively, like thinking, I'm stuck being a number 8 hitter. I have no hope. So I think moving that lineup around, all good.
Totally disagree. You had 6 weeks to figure this out, and you got a track record of every one of these players. You should know who slots where and who's a really good fit. These guys, they're experimenting 6 games into the season, and we're 2-4.
But again, it's the batting order doesn't matter if nobody's hitting,
But if you have the guys in the right slots based on their past track record, you should know who hits well out of what positions.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say, we can go down and make a starting lineup and stick to it, but they were never sure who was going to be the leadoff. I know Tatis doesn't necessarily want to be the leadoff, but he is the proper guy to lead off, kind of like you want Ohtani leading off for the Dodgers. You get your most athletic, most, greatest athlete at the top of the order so they can bat as often as they can. But in my opinion, Laureano needs to move up the order. Experimenting with Cronenworth against right-handed starters at the top of the order, that's an interesting idea at times. But for the most part, move Laureano up, Gavin Sheets is really bottom third, until he can really turn it on. And Bogarts, you kind of wonder, is he a 2 or a 5? I'm not sure.
He's hitting balls on the nose, but they're not going in. But 202 batting average. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Okay, if you're a Padre fan, Fans Forum chat box is open. Show me your lineup card when you jump on board. You agree with me that why is Stammen, and maybe this is rookie manager problem or new coaching staff problem, they got all this data on all these veteran players, and they can't figure out who should slot where. Padre fan, bring your batting card. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that. Let's talk Dodgers.
Yeah, they had a good opening week. I mean, what are they, 4-2 to start the season?
Yeah. Ohtani, first start. 99 miles an hour. 6 innings, gives up only 1 hit. Their pitching staff has pitched pretty well. But Yamamoto is dominant. But bullpen, Tanner Scott, home run ball again. But the Dodger batting order is hitting a collective 186.
Yeah.
186. Dodger blue, spending all that green. Your batting order is hitting 186. Small sample size.
They're 4-2.
Ohtani's hitting 167. Tucker's hitting 174. Mookie Betts, and this is the one that concerns me, is hitting 136. Freddie Freeman's only batting 208. Will Smith hitting 200. That's the top. That's the meat. That's the center of the Dodger batting order. That, to me, is really a surprise. And I'm concerned about Betts because he had a substandard season last year by virtue of the infection. Bat speed and strength slowed down, and now he's not hitting again out of the gate. I know it's only 6 games into the season, but if we're going to talk about the negatives about the Padres batting order, we should talk about the negatives statistically about the Dodger batting order. And John Riley says,
the Dodgers have problems with their hitting, and we should all be a little worried and concerned about the boys in blue. Now, they're going to be fine. I mean, they're going to start hitting. But, if you are to kind of go on to a worst-case scenario, right, go to the dark side. Yeah, Mookie had the health problem last year, and he didn't hit well, and he's really not that big of a guy, and he lost all that weight. And Freddie Freeman's getting a little long in the tooth. I mean, isn't he like in his mid-30s? 34, yeah.
He's 36, somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's getting up there a bit. But they have so many guys, and even guys off the bench. Even they got Hyesung Kim down in Oklahoma City hitting like 500 or something right now. And so they're going to be fine, and they still win games. If they win 4 out of every 6 games, like the way they started the season, they'll be fine. I mean, they'll be a first-place team, and everything will be good at Chavez Ravine. Dodgers
struck out 29 times in 3 games against Cleveland.
Yeah, well, Cleveland took 2 out of 3.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, it's like someone kind of like throwing some dirt at the dragon, And that's surprising because we've talked about Cleveland, how it was just, Manny Ramirez and then it's just a bunch of little scrappy hitters.
Yep.
But they figured out a way to beat L.A.
Dodger fans, what do you make of your team? They're in first place. They're 4-2, but dudes are hitting 186. Wow, with that batting order. Last topic in baseball obviously involves the Angels. Halos won 3 games on the road. What a way to start the season. I did not see that coming. Angels got a bunch of guys that are... Mike Trout's off to a quick start. 6 for 13 so far. A couple of home runs along the way. I don't know what to make of their pitching. The 2 kids that John and I had talked about being in the back end of the rotation. Jack Kachanowicz got lit in his first start. And then Ryan Johnson got bombarded in his first start. So starting rotation is beyond Soriano is a big, big issue right now with the Angels. And now they're coming home. And I just wonder what the atmosphere is going to be like at the Big A. Are we going to have all these chants and these fans showing up with signs and singing, Artie, sell the team, sell the team? Ooh, my goodness. But they won 3 games to start the season, which was kind of a bit of a surprise. But I just look at that lineup and I just say, there's not enough guys to play 162 games. There's not enough pitching for 162 games. So far so good, though, for Mike Trout. Good for him.
Yeah, it's nice to be talking positively about Trout. I mean, it's a shame the way his career is kind of faded, for us as fans.
So many injuries.
It's just, it's crazy. But, good on the Angels. Jose Sariano's been really good, starting for the team. I think you got to keep our expectations in check. They're not going to win the division. Probably aren't going to make the playoffs. But if they could be a 500 team, maybe a little better than 500, and you can have some hope, So, and maybe Kurt Suzuki has figured it out. Maybe he is a manager that's able to blend, some of the older guys, the younger guys, and make it work in Anaheim.
We'll find out. Reed Detmers is going to start on his homestand, and they desperately need him to really become kind of a part of an anchor at the front end of the rotation, but you never know what you're going to get from him. And obviously, starters 4 and 5 now have just big uncertainty about whether these kids can pitch at this level. We are at halftime. We invite you to join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you. DIXIELINE's been in business for over 100 years in San Diego. And I just always like to direct the message to the guys that watch this podcast on live stream. Those of you who are do-it-yourselfers, those of you who are Mr. Fix-It like this guy, do it in the garage, do it in the basement, build it on the back patio. DIXIELINE's tool displays at each of their stores, superb. John, take it and run with it.
I'm really not that good of a do-it-yourselfer, and so the cool thing is that DIXIELINE provides all the greatest building materials and tools and everything else. And a lot of times when I'm doing a remodel of something in my home, I'll go to DIXIELINE and I'll purchase the materials. Like if I want decking for my backyard, I'm picking it out. I'm going to DIXIELINE, and then I'm working out and getting a contractor to help me install it, right? So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can make a killer garage, with having a full display of all your tools, all your racks, all your toolboxes, or even some of those portable ones that you see people toting around out on job sites. DIXIELINE is it. But again, if you're a homeowner, go to DIXIELINE and ask them about, doors and windows and, a lot of other things in your house that are going to really upgrade and make your house very presentable.
Go to DIXIELINE.com, see all the things they've got to offer. DIXIELINE Lumber. We thank them for being part of our podcast now together on our 4th year. Just a reminder for everybody who's with us on the live stream, when we're done, after we put topics on the table and tell you what we think about those topics on the table, we open it up to you. It's called Fans Forum. John, for all the people jamming us on live stream, how can they participate right at the end?
Yeah, more guys jamming us. I see Ryan and Richard and Callan and Do You Love It and Joe and John and Sports Fan. All you guys, man, I love seeing you out there. If you got a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you in Fans Forum.
To use a baseball quote that you on live stream would understand on Fans Forum, bring the heat, meat. I want to hear what you've got to say.
Is that from Bull Durham?
It sure is from Bull Durham.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay, so we got that. Hey, listen, like sports, I write about it every day of the week. If you have never, ever checked my website, you're missing something unique and different. The website's there. It's posted. The best 15 minutes in sports. It's all written. It's there every morning. My one man's opinion column. We invite you to check my website. Also, there's an orange box right on the homepage. You can fill out, get on the email list, become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. John and I send out 2 emails a day in the world of sports. It'll be in your inbox mornings, in your inbox late afternoons. We think you'll really enjoy that, so get on the email list. Share and subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel, in addition to the podcast. We do commentaries and we do short clips. I think you're really going to like that. And you can help make us grow. This thing has exploded. We want to take it beyond 10,000 followers. Help us. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button or give us the 5-star rating on Apple. And we thank you for being with us. We're in our 4th year together, arguing back and forth and having you be part of it. Anything else I should add? You want to add something?
No, you said it all, man. Yeah, you're a carnival barker as well as a sports talk show host.
Damn right.
Okay,
we move on. Let's go to the second half. of our podcast on this Thursday, going towards a great sports weekend. John, let's spin off and talk NFL rosters.
Yeah, big news in the NFL. Start with the Rams.
I'll tell you what, this is a real stunning story. I feared something wasn't right, and this story broke on late Wednesday afternoon. Puka Nacua has left the Rams. The star wide receiver has entered a mental health care facility for addiction in Malibu. He's going to be there, I was told, 6 weeks. It's a pretty extensive thing. His behavior since the end of the playoff season has gotten very erratic. We're talking stuff on social media, say, wow, where'd this come from? Why did he say this on social media? Well, the whole world saw it. And we saw confrontations, drinking sessions in public, run-ins with women, physical confrontations, now 2 lawsuits. And the Rams answering questions this week that we have standards with this team. He has a responsibility on the field and a responsibility off the field. And within 12 hours of that statement by Sean McVay, Puka Nacua's agent goes public and admits he has entered a mental health facility. Just very erratic behavior. And I feared something was not right. So I don't know whether it's lifestyle, whether it's being rich and famous, whether it's a posse, or whether or not there's mental health issues brought on by the type of player he is and the contact and whatever concussions may have occurred.
Yeah.
He's not the same guy. So that's really a scary story. The other story that's really strange, this story had legs for about 24 hours. A report was the Rams were looking for a backup quarterback and a bridge to the future, in essence kind of telling us Matthew Stafford's going to retire after the season, and they were in contact with Kirk Cousins. And the minute that story got out, Kirk Cousins, who'd been making visits, found a team to sign with. Kirk Cousins this morning signed with the Raiders. 1-year deal, kind of creative financing. Now, he got a chunk of money and a buyout from Atlanta. Atlanta's going to pay $8.7 million of the salary for Kirk Cousins. The Raiders are only paying the league veteran minimum of $1.3, but the Raiders are giving him a $10 million roster bonus for a second year that is guaranteed whether he's on the roster or not. So, in essence, Kirk Cousins is winding up with $20 million total for at least one season. If he plays more than one season with the Raiders, he'll get some add-ons for next year. But I think this is a great acquisition for the Raiders because it gives them a starting quarterback. You take that quarterback and his track record with the 2 tight ends, the 2 wide receivers, Ashton Genty, and a much improved defense. And the Raiders still have their draft picks at 136 and 67 to go get offensive linemen to plug in. So that this is huge. And Clint Kubiak has track record and history with Kirk Cousins, as does Mike McCoy, who's going to be the quarterback coach and kind of the passing coordinator with the Raiders. So this really completes what I think is a really good offseason with the Raider Nation. New Orleans, a little surprised by this. You know, they made a deal right at the beginning of free agency. They spent $11 million to get Travis Etienne from Carolina. Heavy-duty running back, had some injuries early in his career, has played really well. They've announced they're keeping the other $11 million running back. Alvin Kamara is going to stay there. They got 2 running backs counting over $22 million against the cap. They're going to share the running back duties there. Pittsburgh, I don't know what's fact or what's fiction. Mike McCarthy goes to the owners' meetings in Scottsdale this week, and at the coaches' breakfast, he says, I have talked to Aaron Rodgers constantly. Then Art Rooney says, we've given Rodgers a decision date of April 20th. Are you coming to play or are you leaving? And then McCarthy comes back and says, Will Howard, the kid from Ohio State we drafted a year ago, he's got every trait to be an NFL starter. So I don't know what's fact or fiction. Is Rodgers going to return? Is Howard going to be the guy? Are they going to draft Tyler Simpson from Alabama, whom they've visited with already? A lot of strange stories there in Pittsburgh. Philadelphia, all the offseason conversation's been about A.J. Brown. We're going to trade him. Everybody's putting offers and bids on him. Now we find out from within, there's a big story in the New York Times that Jalen Hurts' relationship with everybody in Philadelphia has gone off track. And it's on Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, not other people. Now they're saying that Jalen Hurts resists attempts to do creative stuff with the offense. Hurts does not want to play under center. Too many audibles at the line of scrimmage against the wishes and commands of Nick Sirianni. It's taken away their deep passing game. And the fact that Hurts is seemingly upset that he's about to have his sixth offensive coordinator in a seven-year span, so his learning curve is really, really off track. And the big headline in the Times was, is he coachable? Wow. Mm-hmm. So this is not necessarily just on Brown, the wide receiver, or Devontae Smith, the other wide receiver. This looks like this may be more on Jalen Hurts than it is on anybody else. And the last story is in Cleveland, where Jim Haslam, the owner, says Deshaun Watson has a clean slate. The history is the history. He's going to be given every chance to win that starting job on the final year of his $230 million contract, even though his record is 9-10, and he's played really poorly, and he's always been hurt. And Haslam says Shedeur Sanders is there, but he was 3-4. But we're going to give Deshaun Watson the chance. It's a clean piece of paper. Now, take that with a grain of salt that weighs 12 pounds, because Jim Haslam's decisions led the Browns to a record of 78-150.
Man, that ain't good.
Under his tutelage. So, John, we'll talk about your impressions of Puka. Guess who's going to quarterback the Raiders? Go through the rest.
It's interesting because at first Puka Nacua I thought was just being a dummy and getting drunk and doing dumb things. Okay, but clearly it's a health issue. I mean, this is maybe a bigger deal.
Mental health issue.
Yeah. So and to your point, maybe is there CTE involved? Anything involved with football, and is that affecting him? It's worthy of having science step in here. And if he's going to need therapy, he's going to need to detox, or he's going to need to go through some kind of counseling to kind of get his head straight, then great, go get it. And that's the right thing for the Rams to do, because Puka Nacua is a guy you want to build a franchise around. I mean, so hopefully that gets straightened out. The news on Kirk Cousins is just like, to your point, it's like the Raiders are just doing everything right this offseason. And I'm like, right on. So I can see that working out really well, and Kirk Cousins, by the way, just keeps landing in big pots of money wherever he goes. He's making bank, and he hasn't really won anything, but that could be a nice, bridge. And you got Mendoza that can kind of, watch from the sidelines for a little bit. And the Saints, you had two running backs. I mean, they need something to have hope over there. Will Howard, I remember seeing him at Ohio State, and he was like a game manager kind of quarterback. He wasn't necessarily some athletic specimen, but it's just Rodgers just being such a prima donna, I'm in, I'm out, you love me, not the whole thing. And so it makes sense. And McCarthy's got to go with the hand he's dealt. He's got to say, Will Howard's my guy, because what are his other options? So that whole thing's a disaster. I mean, and then Jim Haslam, that guy's nonsense. I mean, so he's just trying to salvage the investment in Deshaun Watson, trying to get something out of him. But in the end, that's a lost cause, isn't it, Lee?
He's not the quarterback he used to be in Houston, and obviously the player is one thing. The person is another thing, with all the junk that he got himself involved in, and that's tainted his reputation. But is Shedeur Sanders a real alternative? I tend to think not. I mean, Sanders, he might have won 3 games, but his stats were not very good, and a lot of it was throw the ball up and hope it doesn't get picked, and oh my God, we completed an odd pass here or there.
But that with the spirit of Shedeur Sanders was more aggressive, a little bit of swag out there. And I, as a fan, I love that, and I'm a big fan of Coach Prime too. But I think, the dog pound, they're probably, I would assume, rooting for Shador because when he was on the field, you felt like there was hope. But I remember watching some games with Deshaun Watson got a look-see at the end of the season, didn't he?
Yep.
And it was just a complete disaster when he was in there. So I don't know. Like you say, what's truth? What's false? You don't know. It's just guys talking.
And Browns fan, they're going to sit there and listen to anything Jim Haslam says that's got any credibility. 78-150.
No, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it just goes back, it's like that old Browns quarterback jersey you see on social media every once in a while with a list of all the quarterbacks they've had over the last 25 years.
All 41 of them.
Yeah, and it's just a ridiculous list. And now we're going to add a couple more names to it.
So if you're a Rams fan, feel free to join us in the Fans Forum chat box. To me, this is a real serious story about Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Something's changed with him mentally, and that scares me. But he's in rehab. We believe it's in Malibu, so we'll just see where the stories go. Fans Forum is available for a Rams fan if you'd like to get on board. We'll go from that. Because I am who I am, we're in this. The hockey hotline is indeed open for business.
Yeah, here we go. Maple Leafs, you got the sweatshirt for it.
Yeah, let's talk about what happened in Toronto. They just fired the general manager, Brad Treliving. 2 first-round playoff exits, and now this year they're not going to make the playoffs. They got all kinds of problems internally. He's the general manager. He's the one that put this roster together. He did not re-sign Mitch Marner. He did not get enough quality compensation when he dealt Marner to Las Vegas. He's failed to solve the gambling problems. His teams just have accomplished nothing in the playoffs. And now today, top 2 players, Nylander and Austin Matthews, both have no trade contract clauses, say they will not waive those clauses. They're not going to do anything to help the Maple Leafs change the mix. They want to stay and they want to play in Toronto. Were the Maple Leafs going to go for a general manager? This bears watching because every general manager they've had in there in the last 10 years just has really failed to get the job done, and that includes Lou Lamoriello and obviously Brendan Shanahan. So just a really weird situation. One of the best franchises in the history of the league can't get it right. The Ducks, a little bit of a tailspin. I don't know if they're fatigued. They've lost 3 in a row, and they've lost leads 3 straight times. The Ducks, they'll make another move. They just signed one of the top college center icemen, Providence College, former number 1 draft pick Roger McQueen, scored 19 goals as a 19-year-old at Providence. He just signed, has been assigned here with the San Diego Gulls for the last couple of weeks of the regular season and then the Gulls in the AHL playoffs if they get in. We talked extensively last week about the Radko Gudas cheap shot hit on Austin Matthews, the lack of real discipline with any teeth. And then Toronto came in and they brawled with the Ducks. Gudas was involved in 2 fights in the first 2 periods of the game. Didn't throw any punches, got pounded along the way. He said, I own my mistakes. He did apologize for the hit on Matthews, said I had to go on the ice and take whatever punishment Toronto tried to hand out. But again, that comes under the code of conduct that you're going to do that to my star player. There is going to be retribution. Las Vegas, John Tortorella takes over as head coach after they fired Bruce Cassidy last week, and they win their first game. They're fighting for staying in the upper echelon in the playoffs and home ice advantage. His only statement at his first press conference was he looked at the media. And again, Tortorella's coached 4 different clubs, has won a Stanley Cup in Tampa Bay. Tortorella said, we're going to bring hardness to this lineup, which means they're going to bang heads. If you're going to play us, they're going to be a very different team at the end of the season into postseason. We'll see how far his statement carries. And I'll tell you, they're going crazy in the province of Quebec. The Montreal Canadiens are having an unbelievable season. They lost for a whole bunch of years. They have one of the youngest rosters in the league, and they've complemented it by making trades to get guys from the LA Kings, get guys from Edmonton, veterans. Cole Caulfield's got 46 goals this season. They're doing it with size, they're doing it with speed, and they're doing it with a steady defense, and they're doing it with 3 goaltenders. They got 3 goaltenders that are playing pretty good hockey. Montreal's really dangerous right now, which is absolutely amazing. So, John, those are hot topics on the table. You want to talk about the misfits that the Maple Leafs are, talk about where the Ducks are?
I thought the Radko Gudas story to me is interesting because good on him for saying, okay, I made a mistake, and he apologized, but he can't, be ineligible or on the injured list for that game against Toronto. He has to show up, and take it like a man, and that just shows a lot of integrity, So it is sort of code, this like brotherhood amongst the players in the NHL that, you got to take your medicine. And
3 seconds into the game, they dropped the opening faceoff. Max Domi dropped his gloves, hit Gudas 10 straight times. Gudas never responded. He kind of covered up.
Yeah, which, I mean, in a way that seems like justice, and it seems like Gudas was not running away from it. Because if he didn't show up and play, they call him a coward, right? So good on them, I think, so we'll see how they turn the page. Hopefully this incident's behind them. Interesting. The new coach with the Golden Knights, he said they're going to get tougher. They're going to be like a street fight in Vegas.
Bring hardness to the game.
Okay, here we go. And then you said also the Ducks just signed that guy out of Providence.
Yes, Roger McQueen, last year's #1 pick.
McQueen. I mean, imagine if he was on the Kings. That'd even be better. Mm-hmm. But how is it? I mean, is this a free agent pickup? It's not.
He was the #1 draft pick.
Oh, okay. Well, he just signed.
He left junior, went to Providence College. He's played 1 season there. He's like the kid, the Gavin McKenna, who went to Penn State and is going to be the #1 pick this coming year.
Okay, good.
So he's got great credentials. He's just another one of the high draft picks that looks like he's going to pan out. But he's coming here. He's going to play for the Gulls, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, fill the pipeline with talent.
Yeah, because they haven't sent their #1 picks here. They force-fed them all up there in Anaheim. Hockey Hotline is open for business. You want to talk about the code, the response of the Maple Leafs 2 weeks after the fact? I think it should have happened. And I think Gudas should have gotten a much stronger suspension because this is 7th incident in which he's injured a player. Feel free to join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that. Here comes hot headlines.
Hot headlines, and not a good week for Team USA.
Ooh, you're going to have to walk me through this because I've been disappointed twice in a week now here by Team USA soccer. Are they in trouble? These 2 friendlies against Belgium and Portugal. Now, they played much more dominant in the first half, maybe the first 50 minutes against Portugal. Just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. Now, they played pretty well in the first half against Belgium and then totally collapsed. They changed the lineup. They moved Christian Pulisic to central striker. He got mugged. He got hounded. Holy cow, I'm surprised he didn't punch somebody. He just got fouled so much. He had scoring chances. Chris Richard, who comes from the English Premier League, was finally healthy. Put him on the back end, made a whole change in the way that defense around the box played. He's a really good player. Changed goaltenders. Matt Freese went in. He played really strong on the goal. He was very, very vocal, even though Portugal won 2-0. They were aggressive. They pushed the ball up the pitch. They just didn't finish scoring opportunities in the first half of the game. But late game, breakdowns in defense in front of Matt Freese, and Portugal scored a critical goal that kind of broke their back. Now they have 2 more friendlies. On Memorial Day weekend, they're going to play Senegal, and then 2 days later, they're going to play Germany. Those will be the last 2 friendlies before we move to the middle of June, and then the World Cup begins. So the next group of weeks, John, is going to really be something. There's 35 players still on that roster for 26 slots. So it's going to be interesting to see who makes it, because they've not given a lot of time to the young goal scorers. And so how is Mauricio Pedicino going to be able to slot in a decision? Do I take Reyna with me? Do I take all the other young goal scorers, Bolagan,
Gio
Reyna, Ricardo Pepi, Zendejas? They got 4 young goal scorers, but did not get a lot of minutes in these friendlies. So how's he going to decide who makes this group? So he's got 35 guys in camp. He's got 26 roster slots. Next group of weeks is really going to be intriguing to watch with Team USA. So we got that. Your comment on team soccer first.
I'm excited to talk about soccer, getting ready for World Cup.
Yep.
It makes you wonder because remember, Pochettino started out with the team looked like a shambles. It was a mess. Then suddenly he fixed everything and they started winning all these games. Now we're kind of back into something that doesn't make sense. So again, I'm not keeping up with which guys are going to be likely on the team here, but it does make you wonder if he's just cycling through those 35 guys, trying to find the right matchups, the right combinations of players that are going to be most electric in the big tournament.
They'd won 5 in a row in friendlies, and then these 2 substandard matches in the loss to Belgium, the loss to Portugal, and they just really struggled to score goals, and the breakdowns in the box in front of their goaltenders was really, really bad. So all of a sudden, people are saying, well, has he figured this out, or are we still going to experiment? Geez, it's awful late in this window here to be trying to solve problems.
Well, yeah, but Portugal and Belgium are no slouches.
No, they're internationals.
Yeah, it's not like playing a little island nation in the Caribbean.
Now, I will tell you this. FIFA just handed out its latest global rankings. France is number 1, Spain is number 2, Argentina is number 3, England is a surprise number 4. Team USA is 16.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So,
no Italy. Italy didn't make the World Cup.
Italy did not make the World Cup for the 3rd time in a row. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. I mean, they won it not too long ago.
And Denmark did not make it either.
Wow.
So, interesting. You're a soccer fan. Fans Forum is open. Next topic, the PGA Tour. Next topic, Tiger Woods. His lawyers yesterday asked a judge for permission for Tiger to leave the country despite the DUI arrest and the controversy swirling around it. Entering a drug treatment clinic, we believe it's in Germany, the judge gave him permission to travel abroad only to one city, wherever that location is. We think it's Germany, for the treatment of addiction. He said he could not get privacy here in the States, and he would just needed to be away from a U.S. hospital. So the judge granted that. But at the end of the day, and he's gone to Germany for other physical treatments and rehab from all these injuries. The burning question, how much farther you walk down the road where you respect Tiger? You understand the trauma of all the injuries, but you also understand the choices that he's been made on his behalf. You understand the fact that he refused to get help. In essence, he's been in denial for a long period of time about this drug situation. I don't know if you've seen the video of the police giving him the sobriety test. It's dreadful. And he was buzzed this badly at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, driving at a high speed, buzzed to the point he could hardly stand and hardly communicate, and he was buzzed. So I asked golf fans, how much more rope do you give Tiger Woods? He's been surrounded by enablers, and that really bothers me that nobody's called him out. Now guys on the PGA Tour anonymously have told Golf Digest he needs to be held accountable. So Tiger's got a lot of friends. Tiger's had a lot of enablers, and I think that's a piece of this equation too. At the end of the day, to use a golf term you'd understand, Tiger Woods is about to triple bogey his life, his health, and his credibility. And at the end of the day, I don't want to hear about any more Tiger Woods press conferences about the new golf club I'm designing or the new golf course in Scotland that I'm going to oversee or the new line of clothing I'm putting out. Tiger does not need to spend any time on his golf game or his business interests. Tiger needs to spend time on sobriety and this addiction that has totally gotten out of way. Like I say, he's on the brink of triple bogeying every aspect of his life, including his credibility. Now, I try not to be too cruel, but I've watched this progress. To me, it's really bothersome. Your turn.
Well, I'm not ready to wag my finger at him. I think we've already been doing that for the last couple of years and all the other incidents he's had. I'm just generally happy he's getting help, And if he has to go to Europe and he wants privacy to get the help, then fine. I mean, if that's what's going to straighten it out. But this accident he just had, no one got hurt, right? I mean, I'm not condoning what happened, but it's not like he's a criminal that has injured or murdered people.
But he keeps doing this.
Yeah, he does keep doing it. He does have a problem.
This is his 5th DUI, substance abuse, alcohol, or drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, and to get in a vehicle buzzed at 2 p.m. as badly as he was buzzed. In the last incident, it was 7:30 in the morning where he did the double flip and got trapped in his car and almost severed his leg.
Yeah, that was the one here in California, I
Exactly.
think. So in the end, I'm just happy he's getting treatment. You know, it's just such a tragic figure, you know, that he's been going through all of this. I just like to see him straight. I did see some of that video where he's kind of down on one knee on that little grassy area and his car is sort of flipped sideways. Yep. And you're just like going, yeah, come on, Tiger, you know, let's just straighten up, you know, let's straighten up.
Well, a second video surfaced this morning of him sitting in a police car and them giving him instructions, and he can't respond.
Yeah, that's no way to go through life.
I was driving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Invincible.
Feel free. You're a golf fan. Your reaction to Tiger? Sad? Angry? Think this is going to end up badly? Feel free to join us, Fans Forum chat box. Last topic on the table, all things Formula One. They have a 5-week window in their schedule now, in which there are no races scheduled. This raging controversy with the cars that they're making these guys drive just continues, and they've done nothing. The drivers asked that a window be open in the middle of this 5-week hiatus because they canceled the Grand Prix of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia because of what's happening in the Middle East. They asked that one of these weekends be used for wholesale testing and make changes in the car. FIA has not responded to the drivers. So, and there's criticism. It's like a mountain now against Max Verstappen. Martin Brundle, great English driver who's retired now, says Max should leave F1 or just stop talking. He says, you don't understand. You're replaceable. Any driver can drive for your team. You're damaging the sport. Damon Hill, legendary English guy, this guy needs to take a sabbatical, talking about Max Verstappen. Mercedes continues to fire back, saying the problem is not with the car. The problem is with the Red Bull team not figuring out the car all these other teams have so far. And Lando Norris says, why won't F1 listen to the drivers about the battery power problems that are having these cars? Why are we not testing a week from now at some neutral track to try to sort this out? So you got Verstappen, who's always upset. You love drama. I know you love drama. Who's always upset.
Yeah.
And you got FIA is not doing anything to the response to the owners and the drivers that these cars don't run right and can't be handled. Go ahead.
Well, we were just talking about this the last podcast.
Yes.
Where during this 5-week hiatus, was it Verstappen or was it Lewis Hamilton? It was one of them that was going to get together with their team and kind of work out some of the kinks with the cars.
Well, the teams are trying to work things out. But Verstappen was the one that actually went to F1 and said, we have this big window. Let's schedule 3 days of testing, put us at Silverstone in England, and let us work through, make some changes. Make some changes in the aerodynamics, make some rule changes as it relates to the battery pack power, and let's test for 3 days and see if it makes it better. And FIA did not respond.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it make this time productive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it is kind of weird, all those races there around the Persian Gulf, they're all canceled.
Well, the whole incidents are it was unsafe. So
yeah, of course.
Absolutely amazing. Any auto racing fans out there? We do cover all these topics. F1 fans are invited. You tired of Verstappen, or has F1 created a monster mess for all of its teams? Nobody seems to be really happy at all. Those are topics on the table. The next segment belongs to you. It's time for Fans Forum, and we invite you to join us. Jump on board in the chat box. You pick any topic, ask a question, make a statement, stand up, sound off right now. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects in the home. You got projects out in the back patio by the pool. You need DIXIELINE Lumber. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, downstairs or in the garage, you got projects, think about the tool displays at Dixieline. Go to Dixieline.com, see all the things they have to offer. John, I bet there's a few people got a few opinions on bad batting averages, the Raiders quarterback, and all the other hot topics on the table.
Yeah, especially with baseball season starting. Hey, let's start with Teamer. Hey, Jose Soriano is the only competent pitcher the Angels have because the rest of the starting rotation sucks. And Ryan Johnson had no business pitching in Chicago. He was clearly nervous.
Well, Kochanowicz and Johnson pitched really well in the spring. And bing, 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 light bulb went on and said, well, maybe they're ready to make this jump to be the fourth and fifth starter. But obviously they both got racked on the road. But you got to be patient with them, and you got to work through this. The fact that Kochanowicz had such a dominant spring, he had a lot of good outings. You just got to walk through the month of April, and let's just see how these guys hold up. Now, remember, they've got 3 or 4 young pitchers at Salt Lake City and a little bit further down the chain. They think are knocking at the door. And I would assume if starters 4 and 5 continue to falter, that somebody's coming from down there is going to come up top. So you can't give up on the kids right now. You just got to ride this a little bit longer and just see if these kids can figure this thing out. And the wild card in this whole thing is Ty Brumton, the number 1 draft pick from UCSB, but he started in high Class A in the Northwest. So, I mean, he's at least a year away, but we'll be monitoring him to see how he does in his debut.
You know, Soriano's having a hell of a start here, but refresh my memory. I mean, give me like a sketch of his background, his history. Where's he been? He's
been in the system. He's been there. He's been a starting pitcher for 2.5 years. Had some health problems, but he was strong last year on a really bad team. But he's a physical force. To me, the wild card is Reed Detmers. If Reed Detmers can come back and be the starter he was a couple of years ago, I mean, that was a high draft pick, and it looked like he was really be something that he got hurt, wound up going to the bullpen, had to pitch his way back into the rotation. They really need him. So that's where the Angels are right. They're just very thin. And if these 2 kids at 4 and 5 don't handle it, then they're going to have to go get. They've got some more starters at AAA, but none of those guys have shown they can step up and get the job done either.
Yeah, well, nobody has the depth of the Dodgers.
Exactly.
I'd imagine the Padres are going through a problem with 4 and 5 in the rotation. Imagine a lot of other franchises are too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks for joining us.
Okay, let's go here to Richard. Hey, he goes, watching the body language of Manny and Tatis to start the season. Their enthusiasm rivals DMV workers. They looked happier playing in WBC. Indictment of the Padres culture?
Well, I would hope that these guys are going to show leadership and these guys are going to show fire. I agree with you that when we saw them in the WBC, boy, there was an awful lot of electricity in the stands. Well, that's not shown up here. I privately have some concern. I've had baseball people tell me that this is a new manager and this is a untested coaching staff. And we got veteran players set in their ways. Guys walk over, don't listen to managers and coaches who have zero experience. I sure hope that's not true. Only time will tell. But, they need Tatis and they obviously need Manny to bring fire to the dugout and fire to the lineup. Cronenworth plays hard. Jackson Merrill plays hard. But those 2 superstars are making an enormous amount of money, and they need to be doing more than hitting 238 or hitting 10 home runs. So we'll see if they can be superstars. But the rest of the batting order is not hitting. But they set the table to make everything else happen. Yeah.
This has always been kind of a gripe of a certain portion of the fan base about body language and, are you really into it? And, at the WBC, Manny Machado was saying how he loved all the energy and the fans would bring all their horns and drums and all that. And he wants to bring all that to Petco. It'd be cool if they could pull that off. Mm-hmm. That could help change the energy. Yep. But in the end, Machado's not Johnny Hustle. He's never going to be that kind of spark plug guy. Tatis can be that guy, but Manny's Manny, and it's like you can't really expect him to become a different guy.
It's interesting. A baseball guy told me this week, do you know that his contract jumps to $40 million next season?
Yeah.
He's got 7 years left at $40 million per.
Yeah, I think it's 39.
Okay, so
yeah.
Does he not need to be a firebrand leader and be more productive at 40 mil rather than be, as you would say, Manny being Manny?
But Manny is Manny. And as much as we'd like for him to be some kind of rah-rah guy, that's just not him, So, to me, Merrill is a young kid who clearly has a passion to win every game.
He could be a firecracker.
He could be a guy that could be that emotional young spirit. We thought Tatis was that guy, but now Tatis is 27. 27. Think about how many quality years Tatis is really not capitalized on.
Yep.
So, I don't know. It's still early. Let's give this a little bit more time. But previous seasons, we used to say it's still early, and it was like already late May, early June. So you only say it's still early for maybe a few weeks.
I just don't buy the theory. It's such a veteran batting order, and they know all these guys, and this team is hitting .202 as it goes to Fenway Park. That to me is a real issue. Thank you for joining us. We'll just continue to track and talk about this.
Okay, hey, let's talk some hockey here with Ryan. Hey, do you think Bruce Cassidy should be the LA Kings head coach next season? And should the Kings trade for Austin Matthews, considering they tend to have trouble signing big free agents recently?
Well, Matthews said today in Toronto, I am not waiving the no movement clause. And then Nylander, his teammates, said the exact same thing. So they want to stay with the Maple Leafs. I don't think DJ Smith is going to stay as the interim coach. I think their record is 6-5-1. They're right on the fringe of being in the playoffs. But even if they get to the playoffs with this roster and the erratic goal scoring, I don't think they'd get through the first round. So, it'll be intriguing to see what they do, where they go find a coach. I think Cassidy has a really good track record based on what he'd done prior in Boston, then obviously what he did with Las Vegas. So he's got to get some consideration. But I think they'll be looking for a coach effective June 1st.
Austin Matthews, really? To the Kings?
No, but he's got a no-trade clause. He says, I'm not waiving the no-trade clause.
Well, just to me, Ryan is a great hockey guy. He's one of our loyal listeners and followers. But it just seems like a L.A. thing to expect that star players all want to play for the Lakers or all want to play for the Kings or the Dodgers. Is that what this is?
Probably.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
But to get him, you got to give up. What are you going to give up?
Right.
Now, they're going to have some salary cap space because Adrian Kempe, Anze Kopitar is retiring. So they will have Kopitar's money to use, but you're going to have to, if you ever got the access to be able to go get Austin Matthews from the Maple Leafs, you'd have to trade a lot. So I just don't know that it's possible for them to do that because I don't think they have a number one draft pick either. So tough situation the Kings are in right now. Young guys have not arrived. Quentin Byfield's had a bit of a downer of a season, and he looked like last year he had arrived. I think he scored 21 goals last season. I don't think he's got 18 this season. The season's almost over. He's not been the dominant player. So their thought process, they got a lot of evaluation to do up in L.A. with the Kings.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep on moving.
Move on.
Let's go Major League Baseball from Do You Love It? Hey, ABS, something that has really made this a huge issue, in my opinion, is the stupid rectangle they insist on having on screen for the fans. Why? Why do we need that there? I freaking hate it.
You're talking about when they show whether it's a ball or strike?
Yeah.
Well, you want to see if it.
Well, but it's not the real strike zone, right? That's just some TV guy in a truck that's making that.
Supposedly, though, graphically, it fits what the strike zone is.
But that box doesn't change. I mean, in real life, if an umpire would change it if it's Aaron Judge or Jose Altuve. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if the box on the TV changes based on the height of the player. Have you noticed that? I don't think it does. I
haven't paid attention to. You're talking about this.
Yeah, the verticalness of the rectangle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, I like it. I like there's a lot of innovations on television, like the yellow line for the first down on in the NFL is a wonderful innovation.
Yeah, it's not official, but it
gives, and that's what this is. It's not official, although we tend to say, no, it nicked the corner, but it gives us better understanding as fans of what's a strike and what's not, or at least kind of close.
At the end of the day, it's only a couple challenges per game. It doesn't interfere with the pace of the game for any extended period of time.
Not at all.
Get the call right. But the veteran umpires that the New York Times interviewed, were of the opinion, now the umpires are taking all kinds of crap for a game that's very, very hard to officiate. So there's probably a sense of truth in that, too.
Yeah, but I think people are tired of having arrogant umpires, and now we're kind of zinging them back, with this technology. But in the end, get it right.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, let's go here to Joe. Hey, was there at the Golden One Center in Sacramento when Duke beat LSU in the Women's Sweet 16 with a three-pointer at the buzzer. Great game. Duke then lost to UCLA in the Elite Eight game.
Tell you what, the women's tournament's going to be phenomenal. But I just sense that the history of UConn, talent level, coach, they're up here. And everybody, whether it's Dawn Staley or what they've just rebuilt at UCLA or what they're trying to do at Texas or what Kim Mulkey did for that large chunk of time at LSU, everybody here is at a different plane because UConn's up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's the godfather of women's basketball.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, what a run. And so just Paige Beckers played for him too, didn't she? I mean, she's a hell of a player, even right now in the WNBA. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun tournament. You know, I mean, there's both Final Fours, men's and women's, are going to be great.
Isn't it amazing if UConn won both?
Ooh.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that would be a big moment for that university.
But if you've never sampled women's basketball, do it. You know, do it Friday in the semifinals, do it Sunday, see the championship game, and just see the talent level is so different now than it's ever been in women's college basketball. I mean, we appreciate what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have brought to the WNBA. Well, this is the baseline of where that talent came from, and everybody's got three-point shooters, and everybody can run the floor now, and it's just a very, very different game. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not. The quality of play isn't the same as at the men's level, but it's still entertaining in its own way. And I like how some of these women are becoming stars, you know, in college basketball, like Jordan Betts, you know, and they're becoming stars in the WNBA. So it creates a stage where we all watch, and it's cool. To me, it's just a great thing.
I agree. So watch it. You got obviously the women and then the men. Oh, what a great basketball weekend we have ahead of us. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here to Callan. Hey, afternoon, gents. Thanks for dropping by my podcast this week. We really appreciate you. Any expectations for Herman Traff and Roger McQueen while they're getting their start in San Diego?
Well, these guys are way down the road. I mean, this is a learning curve. These are two draft picks that they've signed. One, the Traff kid came from Scandinavia, I think from Sweden, and McQueen obviously came out of the Canadian junior ranks via Providence College. So they'll play here and they'll go through a learning curve, and we'll just find out how quickly they get used to playing at this next level. And this next level is different from where they were playing before. But these are highly drafted players. I think Traff might have been a third-round pick as an 18-year-old, I think, out of Sweden. And obviously McQueen was a number one pick last year. Big kid. So we'll just see how they play at the AHL level. All likely they'll probably both be here next season.
Yeah, Gulls fans got to be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, Gulls are streaky, though. My goodness. They had a hot spell, and then they gave it all back. They beat Tucson last night. They're fighting 7 teams in the Pacific Division make the playoffs. They're in 7th spot. Tucson is in 8th. They're fighting like hell to make the playoffs. They haven't been in the playoffs for 4 years.
Oh, yeah, now it's time.
Yeah, and they've had streaks where you say, wow, these guys have really come together. But nobody has become a dominant goal scorer with the Gulls. It absolutely stuns me.
Well, they have a lot of young kids because all the talent's in Anaheim.
Yeah, well, they got some young kids, but they've got some vested veterans too. But none of those guys have scored 25 or 30 goals. You would have thought somebody spending in this league for a chunk of years like Ryan Carpenter, some of those guys would score 25 or 30 goals, which would be a big difference maker. They got a bunch of guys that are scoring 17 or 18 goals, but nobody's had a banner statistical season. Callie Klang, the goaltender, has played really, really well. So I hope they make the playoffs because they haven't been in the playoffs in 4 years.
All right, right on. Okay, I love talking AHL with you. All right, let's go to John. Hey, Trevor Bauer is pitching in the beer leagues in Long Island. Wouldn't he be a cost-effective acquisition?
Well, he did very well with Yokohama Bay Stars for 1 year. Then he went to Mexico City to the Diablos and had a very good year in the Mexican League. Then he got sick, and he had to come home right at the end of that year in Mexico. I think his combined record, I want to say, was 20-4 over 2 years. But he went back to Yokohama last year, and he got hurt. And I don't know whether it was shoulder or oblique. He had a miserable year. It was just he didn't dominate. It was 4-10, and nobody picked him up. In fact, Yokohama signed a bunch of other ex-Major League pitchers instead of bringing him back. So he's in the with the Long Island Ducks in the Independent League, and he's going to start there. But he's not young any longer. He's 35. Maybe he's lost velocity, and nobody seems to want to touch him. That's a case of toxicity over talent, I think.
Well, he was getting lit up, I think.
Well, last year, but he was hurt.
Yeah. So it just kind of makes you wonder, is the book kind of closed on him?
Father Time's caught him, maybe.
Yeah. I see videos of him all the time on X, and he's usually in like one of those indoor pitching and hitting facilities, and throwing the ball to some, college kids so they're getting a chance to face off on a major league player. And he's doing some coaching, kind of helping the young kids pitch, because he has a lot of insight, a lot of pretty interesting insight.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's a UCLA guy, but too smart for himself. Look what he did to his career.
Yeah, what a mess.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep on going. We'll go here to Sports Fan. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, how many series sweeps magic number can an MLB team will go into the playoffs? What is he talking about there?
You're talking about Major League Baseball, obviously. I don't know. How many series are there in the course of a season? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Let's just move on.
I don't hit knuckleballs very well.
I know, that is a knuckleball.
Knuckleball question. Now, you try back, maybe clarify what you're asking, because we got 2 college graduates here between us, 5 degrees?
Something like that.
We're just kind of, I can't hit a knuckleball.
You knucklehead. All right, let's go to Arnell. Hey, can the Lakers go into OKC tonight and beat the Thunder? NBA MVP, SGA, or Luka?
This is a great game. My goodness. The Lakers have won 16 of 18. OKC has won 14 of 15. Luka's averaging 33 per game. SGA is averaging 31 per game. Now, lost in all those sparkling stats, Oklahoma City's number 1 in defense.
Really?
Oklahoma City's number 1 in shooting defense. So we're going to find out how the Lakers, can they score against all the things that OKC is going to throw at them defensively. I don't think Luka's going to have 51. I'll be intrigued to see. The Lakers think they're playing much better basketball. Does SGA go off for 30-plus against them? Great game. Holy cow, this is litmus test. I mean, everybody's been excited. Lakers, let's be honest, Lakers in the last month have played really good basketball, and they've beaten significant teams. They've beaten all the guys that they had to play that had 40 to 45 wins. They've beaten them all. So we'll just find out if this is the real Laker team, because now this is going to be like they're playing a playoff team.
Yeah, litmus test is exactly what I was thinking. And so, obviously it seems to me like Luka, just as once J.J. Redick kind of reconfigured that roster, Luka has just been a monster. I mean, the guy's scoring 35-plus every game, it seems. But what's your take on SGA? Because, he gets a lot of crap because he likes to kind of go into the lane and kind of push off and then come back for the jumper. Do you think he's getting a little too much help from the refs?
A lot of whining that, why aren't you paying attention to this? I agree. But he plays so many minutes, and I mean, he is so mentally and physically tough to hang in there and get body slammed and banged and all that. He's a great player. And OKC, their record is 60-16, I think. And they've had so many injuries to the support crew around him, and he's been dinged too. I mean, you've won 60 games this season with a roster that's kind of been bruised up. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, the NBA, they don't play defense in the regular season. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be a hell of a matchup right here.
I am buying sub sandwiches. He's buying beer. We're going to be watching the games together. So don't be texting us during the game.
Okay, let's keep on going here. Go to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, do you think the Rams re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo to back up Stafford?
Well, I guess they will now, because it got out that they were in contact with Kirk Cousins. And I said to myself, wow. But see, Kirk Cousins visited Green Bay last weekend. Kirk Cousins had delayed going to the Raiders. And then all of a sudden, once the word leaked out through back channels that the Rams were talking, Raiders jumped right in and did this uniquely financed package to get this guy 1 year, $20 million guaranteed for 1 year as a starter, maybe the bridge quarterback. So I would think they'd look at Garoppolo. If somebody else was interested in Jimmy G, I think he would have been signed by now. So, yeah, I got to believe he's probably going back there because there's no place else to go.
That guy's just a career backup, right?
Yeah,
he had a moment in San Francisco.
Yeah, and then he's had injury issues, and it's just the fate of the game.
Yeah, interesting guy. I mean, he's just been hanging around forever. Let's go here to Bat Fan. Hey, gents, did any of you fall for an April Fool's news post yesterday?
Yeah, there was one out there that I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a rumor out there that Notre Dame had signed a home-and-home with Sacramento State.
For 12 years.
Yeah. I looked at that and said, no. You know, the saddest thing, because we all like to be on X and we'd like to see what late breaking stories, there's the saddest thing that's occurred now, and I don't know how you police this, is stuff is showing up on X that you think has legitimacy, and it's not true. There have been incidents, I would say in the last calendar month, where people or person have put out such and such has died with a right-through story and pictures.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely shocking to me. There was one about North Carolina's former basketball coach, Roy Williams, that he had passed. We had one a couple weeks ago that Bobby Ross, the Charger coach, had passed, which devastated me because I had not heard that or seen that. And I went and checked it, and through family members said, no, he's right here. He's doing fine. He's in Richmond. So there is a segment of stuff that's showing up on Twitter that is fabricated and totally lies. And so now you have to be very careful who you believe in, what you're reading, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, that's out there. You know, it's not just X, it's everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, I see stuff on Facebook and some of the Padres groups, and people are posting these stories that Tatis is angry and is demanding a trade to the Mets. And you're like, what the hell? You just got to have your radar has to be up on April Fools, especially.
My radar has to be up on a lot of stuff now. It's funny he mentions this. I saw a clip last night. I don't know if it was on Twitter or somewhere else. The greatest April Fool's joke. Now, this goes back to the 1980s. The New York Mets signed the pitcher from Australia, Sid Finch.
That's a great. Yeah, that was a Sports Illustrated story, right?
Through 141 miles an hour or something. Yes.
Yeah.
And they had a picture.
Yeah, it was brilliantly done.
April Fools.
But there's also I've seen people in the old newspaper when they have the transactions in the agate there in the box scores, and they'll say on this day so and so is drafted, and it'll be a lot of the fictional guys like Willie Mays Hayes from the Big Leagues movie, and so it's fun how people can play around with it, but there are sinister people that are saying. It's terrible when they're saying someone has died, but they're also putting out fake rumors just to see if someone's dumb enough to kind of go with it. Yeah. And it's just a mess.
You have to pay attention. And the same thing's happening in news cycles now. When you scroll through Twitter and, somebody's got some type of video about Ukraine blowing up an oil storage plant in Russia, killing all these people, but is that fabricated? Is that manufactured video?
Well, yeah. Well, the AI video creation is just nuts right now.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the source. Who's the person posting it? Do they have on X? Do they have a check mark? I mean, that's an indicator. Are they using their real name? Cause sometimes people have these names like Sports Guru or Sports Fact Guy.
Joe Sixpack.
Yeah, and it's not real. So. You just got to check credibility. And if something smells bad, it probably is. Double check some other sources. So I mean, the same thing, that Notre Dame Sac State. I was like, what? What is this? This can't be real.
Yeah. The Sid Finch one, though, is
that's the
because that was on Sports Illustrated. That was in a magazine with a picture on the cover of this Australian pitcher.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing. Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's get Teamer has a good comment here. He goes, I call BS on Hurts. The guy has been having to learn a brand new playbook every season, not just of his pro career, but in college as well. It's hard to build chemistry with offensive coordinators.
No, I concur. Playbooks can be radically different. But if his ability to produce and make the kind of complete plays that he needs to make, regardless who the playbook is, if he's fighting them under center, that limits with certain aspects of your offense. If he doesn't feel comfortable in the pocket with pressure, that takes away your ability to go deep down the field. If he's breaking off his progressions and just running, So this is the first time this has gone public, but he hasn't looked right for 2 years now. So is that just on the coordinator, or is this on the injuries in the offensive front, or is this a little bit on him? I mean, the headline says, is he coachable? I don't know. But at the end of the day, Nick Sirianni runs that place. He's the CEO of the football operation, comes from an offensive background. He's got to fix it. If the quarterback's struggling, find a way to make him better. I don't know where this is going to go. Philadelphia's got some issues, there's no doubt.
Eagle fans are probably still just irate. Even in the offseason, get rid of Jalen Hurts. I don't know. I mean, he's a quality player. I mean, he really is. I don't know what the reason is for his regression, but yeah, he's got to get it together. And it may be the clock doesn't keep ticking for everybody.
Yeah.
At some point, they're done.
See, I have a hard time thinking they're going to blow this up.
Oh, they won't.
You're going to trade Brown. You got Brown, Devontae Smith, quality tight ends, Saquon Barkley, and Hurts. And you're going to blow it up? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I agree. You see the 49ers are getting rid of Juwan Jennings, right?
Yeah, they're not going to bring him back.
So think of all of those receivers that have cycled through that team.
No, they're all gone now. I mean, Debo's gone.
And Ayuk.
Ayuk is
MIA.
Well, he's MIA. He's not been dealt, but they want draft pick compensation for him. And then they just announced yesterday Juwan Jennings is not coming back. So John Lynch, the general manager, is getting rid of the divas.
Well, maybe one of those needs to land in Philly. I mean, another diva to go with A.J. Brown. I mean, but, I'm just saying there's kind of this round robin with all these guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go here to some social media. We'll get some new folks involved. Okay, let's talk about the Dodgers. This is on your comment about are the Dodgers bad for baseball. And it's Hell's Angel says, he's not wrong one bit. Whenever the Dodgers come to town, it's a sold-out stadium.
Well, we were talking last week about the Dodgers' 4 million fans, Dodger ticket prices, Dodger payroll, Dodger luxury tax, etc. And I said, but at the end of the day, when the Dodgers come here, this is a big event in San Diego. When they go to San Francisco, my God, they sell out everywhere because they want to see Ohtani and the greatness of that individual player. I don't think the Dodgers are bad for baseball. I think baseball's got its own internal structure problem with salary cap, and really more than anything, they need a floor to spending. They need to change their rules for their owners, and they have to divvy up the pie a little bit different. This is a very complicated issue as to how they're going to be able to execute what a new revenue share plan looks, because it involves a ton of different things. It's just not gross revenue. It's just not the TV contract. There's so many other things go into calculating salary cap, tax limits, etc. So they've got between now and opening day of next year in April to figure it out. So we're talking they got 11 months. Go to the table and start working on this instead of posturing. Sit down and creatively work a deal.
Well, if you're a Dodger fan, you got to be thrilled that they're putting all their money in the players. They're bringing in the best quality of athlete they can. I mean, so if Dodger fans got to be ecstatic,
sure,
but are they bad for baseball? No, I don't think so. The Dodger ownership and the management, they just seem to be pushing all the right buttons at the right time.
It's a byproduct of being in the number one or number two market in the country.
Yeah, so they're playing by the rules and playing it, playing 4D chess, while some of us are only still playing checkers. And so the Dodgers aren't the problem.
The problem is ownership. Problem is MLB leadership letting Miami, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Cincinnati run different levels of organization and how they spend their money. That's the problem. And you can fix that. All you need to do is look across the street how the NFL shares its revenue and fixed it and changed their game to make everybody more competitive and mandate how you spend it. That's what they got to do. But to get from here to where they really need to be by opening day next season, there's a lot of complex layers financially that they have to work through.
Yeah, there is a lot to work through. And it's going to take a while to negotiate. You would hope that they've already been negotiating.
No, they haven't started yet.
But you would think, unofficially, people talk to people, But did you see the clip of Sandy Alcantara was in Miami, had hell of a game, but there were only 6,600 fans that showed up. So how in the hell are the Florida or the Miami Marlins, how are they going to radically increase their payroll if only 6,600 people show up.
Product historically hasn't been very good. They've gone through a lot of fire sales. That's item one. Item two, owners Bruce Sherman is not committed to spend money. Well, then they need new ownership. Item three, revenue share. Change the rules of how much money is going into the pot, how much more money you can get. But you're going to get more money, there'll be a percentage. You got to spend that money too. So this is a deep, layered set of circumstances.
Is Derek Jeter still in the ownership group there?
No, he got bounced out of there 2 years ago.
Yeah. When he was there, I remember I saw him up in the owner's box, and you're like, yeah, maybe this could work.
I thought they were going to turn it, but they didn't.
Wow, interesting.
And then he was kind of forced out. Okay, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go down the list. We'll talk about, how about the NBA lottery? We were talking about some interesting ideas last episode. Hey, this is from Hiley TJ. The 18-team proposal stops tanking if all teams prefer A, the play-in over getting about a 4% increase in lottery odds, and B, a guaranteed playoff spot over being in the play-in plus a very small lottery odds. Those are reasonable assumptions most years, but maybe not this year. It does not help weak teams very well, though. If you add 2 rules suggested last month, it would help. No back-to-back lotto wins, and no lotto wins the year after making the conference finals.
Well, if you put all kinds of gimmicks into this, you screw up the credibility of the lottery. At the end of the day, you're there to fix the product. I think it's impossible to mandate don't tank. You got bad teams who get bad injuries. How are you going to delineate what's true versus what's phony baloney as to why I'm sitting my veteran players? They're just going to have to solve this, and they need to do it for the credibility of the game. They need to do it for the reliability of the content. They need to do it for their business partners and the fans and the media. So. Big argument as to how they're going to do it. How many teams go into the lottery remains to be seen. Some of the stuff that we just talked about last week seems really far-fetched. There's too many gimmicks and gadgets. You can't do that.
It's too complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just loses, like you say, it loses credibility. But wouldn't you say that of the major sports, the NBA draft is the most instantly impactful on a franchise?
Because it's only 5 players on the floor with all this influx of great young talent coming from college basketball who can all play immediately. That does not happen in the NFL. Surely doesn't happen in baseball or hockey.
Yeah. So the incentive to tank is so great. See, and I think that's the problem is you just got to eliminate the incentive. And so what I would say is no more draft.
That's not gonna happen.
So then you let teams buy players as free agents, and free agents will want to play where they can make the most money or they want to go to the best organization. And you don't create this carrot that people want to, try to tank.
The capitalist, my co-host, free enterprise, money for everybody.
But it'll solve the problem.
I don't think
the incentive to tank. I mean,
that's never have that. Then you'd have 5 teams with all the money, and what do you do with the other 25 teams?
No, you wouldn't. No, because you'd have some sort of a cap or a tax at the top. So you wouldn't have one team spending unlimited, but you'd have teams that would spend as their budget allows, and teams that generally that aren't doing well probably have lower budgets, so they'll have more money to spend. What's wrong with that? I mean, it works in every other facet of life. When you switch jobs. Imagine if you had to be drafted as a talk show host. We're sending you to Philadelphia. It works in the rest of the real world.
Yeah, that's the real world, which is different than the sports world. That's far-fetched. I don't do far-fetched very good.
No, I think there's something to it. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. We'll go here to some Padres TV talk. This is with Freedom Ortiz. He says, Don and Mud are the best in the business. It's like going to the ballpark with a couple of buddies. We don't need hot air blowing smoke like the rest of broadcasting. They're authentic. They know ball, and they're hilarious. Back off, Lee. Don't you dare.
I was not ripping them. I was just saying you got all these other people sitting around drinking coffee. There's so many other great storylines in baseball. Use them for content. It's interesting. So was it last Thursday that we had the discussion about the Padre TV telecast? And see, why aren't you adding more when you got Scanlon and Pomerantz and Mary Lou's there? Do more creative stuff. So maybe it was Monday I watched the game and they did a whole bunch of creative things. I said, wow. But then they didn't do it on Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, why not do this thing consistently? They had one conversation in one of the telecasts, I think it was in the third inning of the game, was really cool. They were talking about ABS. And they were asking Scan questions about being a pitcher, being a catcher, ball movement, the computer. That's great conversation during the course of the broadcast. I'm not saying make it a dog and pony show, but don't sit there and just totally ignore everything. There are other games being played, and you would never know that watching the Padre telecast. There's no update on Dodger baseball or Ohtani throwing 99, striking out all these guys. Mm-hmm. And that information is easy to get. It's right here. One of those guys could be funneling that information and doing an update in the third inning and the sixth inning of what's happening on the out-of-town scoreboard, or there's been a major injury, or the Buckner situation with that information is available. Make it available to a Padre fan watching the TV. Yes? No?
You're just so hacksaw. This is just so on brand because you love to put topics on the table. You love all the sports information, all the data, and that's your thing, But I think here, like Freedom Ortiz is saying, that's not necessarily what he wants. And he just likes some guys to hang out, and drink a beer and eat some peanuts and watch a ball game, so it's a different vibe.
I mean, there's some nights that there's so much history. Like they had one broadcast where I think Donnie asked Mudd about his first game in organized ball. And then he asked Scanlon. And there's some great stories. And they were talking about who's the greatest minor leaguer that you played against in Class A. And, Scan's talking about Derek Jeter in the Florida State League. That's kind of interesting stuff. But they do it once and they don't do it in another broadcast. There's so many different topics out there they could touch.
Well, Scanlon and Pomerantz, I think, in one of the pregame shows in the Giants series, were doing some pitching mechanics. They kind of stand there on the dirt track by the dugout, and they were kind of breaking some of that down. But in the end, it's just funny. It's just, you weren't criticizing Don and Mudd. You were just offering some other ideas to enhance the broadcast. But there were a lot of people like this that were saying, what are you doing? You cannot say anything about the Padre broadcast. It's like it's untouchable.
All I know is I can't wait for the next Padre broadcast from Fenway Park because I'm sure Mudd is going to tell us about a recipe about making lemon or lime jello, and I'll be making notes on that because they do some of that stuff. He talks about taking the dog for a walk in Alpine, and that's cool. That's okay.
Well, that's when the score is like 13-2, and they'll start having that kind of a discussion.
Okay. Thank you for the input. I'm not critiquing them. I just wish they'd add more to the telecast. On a game-by-game basis, do it consistently. You got the people there. Agree or disagree? That's my opinion.
Okay, let's go back to this topic here about the Dodgers being bad for baseball. Rick says they should be more upset with what the Angels are doing. That's what hurts baseball.
Baseball should be upset with what 8 to 12 of the owners are doing in all these smaller markets. That's the biggest issue. Artie Moreno's tried. Artie Moreno's made mistakes. Artie Moreno has been arrogant at times and impulsive at times. But this is a bigger picture than just the Angels situation. Dude, there's 8 ball clubs started opening day with payrolls of less than $100 million. 8, and they're all getting big revenue share money, and they're not putting it back into the product. That's unfair to the fans in Miami or Tampa or Pittsburgh or wherever. So, again, very complex thing. How you going to execute it? How you get a revenue share? What you're going to mandate in terms of what I think needs to be a new set of rules. And I don't believe we need a salary cap, but a luxury tax with teeth and a different revenue share plan with TV revenue and how you split it, and then the mandate, there will be a floor to spending. You look at the NFL agreement, the NBA, the NHL, they all have a floor to spending, which mandates everybody has to spend a certain amount. You can't have these guys running around spending $65 million or $80 million and taking all this revenue money, and that's the big problem in baseball.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bottom feeders are a problem. But on the high end, teams like the Dodgers are always going to get heat, on this issue. Even if there is a cap, even if there is a luxury tax, because the Dodgers have the resources to not only pay right up to the limit, but they can pay the tax. And they're paying what, like
$181 million.
$181 million of tax. I mean, that's like double the revenue of some of the double the payroll of some of the bottom feeder teams.
Sure.
The tax alone. So the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees are always going to have that financial advantage unless you have a hard cap. Now, the cap in the NFL is more hard, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
And see, that's why it works, and then the floor is hard too.
But there's less guaranteed contracts in the NFL. Those
Right.
contracts are for year plus guaranteed, and there's injury clauses and all that. Whereas baseball wants Juan Soto to have all 8 years guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a different economic model for sure.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay, we could probably squeeze in a few more here. Let's go on down here to, it's some Olympics talk. This is from John. He goes, Hacksaw, how do you feel about the LA Olympic Committee selecting San Diego to host Olympic soccer at Snapdragon Stadium? I think it's great to give San Diego a global platform to showcase itself on a world stage. Credit to the LA Olympic Committee to share its global presence to other Olympic venues.
No, I totally concur. And it's geographically, it fits. We have a tradition now. I'm calling this place Soccer City. We have a tradition of success and support. The Hispanic community, tri-border, it's absolutely phenomenal in terms of being able to draw more and more fans. It's going to be interesting to see. They'll sell out. And the fact that we're going to have semifinal games that are really going to be important on the men and women's side, it's just great. It's a great accomplishment what Snapdragon has become in terms of a soccer venue. And again, the chemical makeup of the people that live here and live across the border, it's really kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I mean, it's all a great thing. But isn't Olympic soccer like 23 and under or something like that? Or 19 and under? No. So it's the whole, I mean, all the top players can play in the Olympics.
Oh, exactly.
So, but it's still not the same as a World Cup, right?
Well, the World Cup is a country.
That's what the Olympics are.
Yeah.
So to me, the World Cup obviously has all the prestige. It just makes you wonder, because we see this in other sports, like the baseball has their WBC and they have the Olympic team, and, which one do they prioritize? Which one do they make available for the superstars as opposed to the young up-and-comers?
Well, the World Cup historically carries great importance globally, and financially. My goodness, the amount of money they make for the world in the World Cup, it's astronomical. What goes to each of these clubs that win and what the players get out of it. So if you're asking me which is more important, the World Cup of soccer or Olympic soccer, that's World Cup soccer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I would expect as well.
Yeah. Okay. We have had a pretty good day. Most surprising aspect?
What's that?
We haven't been able to get all these on, and nobody's had a comment on Tiger Woods.
Yeah, we had some on our last episode, but today, no.
I was really surprised with that. But you got a rain check. You didn't get through on Fans Forum? Post it, and we'll get to it next week. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. We do sports talk the way it should be done. Hot topics, opinions, and then you join us in the Fans Forum chat box. We're going to be back on Monday at 1:30 to talk about this big sports weekend and preview the championship game, Final Four in Indianapolis. Of course, we'll also be talking, obviously, about what's going on in Major League Baseball, what's happening in all the other sports stories, too. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Been in business for more than 100 years. DIXIELINE.com. That's the place to go to check out all the things they have to offer. Lakers, Magic, Women's Final Four, Men's Final Four. I will see you on Monday at 1:30.
Hey, we're talking not Lakers Magic, Lakers Thunder, isn't
Lakers
it?
Thunder.
Lakers Thunder.
OKC.
Yeah. Those are all big games. Here we go.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. You have yourself a great sports weekend. As always, thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.